Good evening. At the risk of violating Michael's strictures against self-congratulatory views of Vancouver, I want to talk about something I'm pretty excited about and I think is fairly good. I also would like to thank him for illustrating the future of Vancouver in all 7 areas that we're going to achieve. I want to talk about what we're trying to do at UBC together with a bunch of partners in the community to create more sustainability. Sustainability is happening everywhere you look. You can't walk down the streets of Vancouver without tripping over a policy, plan, building program that's sustainable, but they're ad hoc, they're one-off, they're disintegrated, they're not part of a standard operating procedure or business as usual. They're still little islands of sustainability in a swamp of other stuff. We have to somehow convert all that swamp, that may be an unfortunate environmental metaphor, to the point where sustainability becomes so deeply built into the practice that we don't need sustainability experts. My goal in life is to become occupationally obsolete, and where it's built in, it's automatic. There's parts of the world where that's starting to happen. We need to do that here big time. So we're going to be talking, I want to talk a little bit about, next please, the UBC Sustainability Initiative. And the idea behind this is, let's integrate operational sustainability and academic sustainability deeply. So everything we do on the campus, every single operational decision we make has a sustainability lens it has to go through and has teaching and research attached to it wherever possible. So that's the concept. The 2 cross-cutting themes are, let's treat our campus as a living lab, and that's an internal focus, and let's work to become agents of change in the outside world with partners. Next, please. And I just want to walk quickly through those 2 concepts. The idea of campus as a living lab is based on a very simple premise. Every university in the planet, every post-secondary institution in the planet should see themselves as a test bed for society on sustainability, because we have 4 characteristics that no other institution in society has. We typically own a large capital stock. We have 300 buildings on 300 hectares, 15 million square feet at UBC. We own it, one owner. Take 15 million square feet downtown here, you got thousands of owners. Very hard to do things at that scale. We can do it because we have one owner. Secondly, we have our own utilities, water systems, energy systems, so on. We teach and we research. Those 4 characteristics mean that our sector should be leading the way. We should be demonstrating in everything we do and testing and proving out sustainability in the simpler institutional environment that can then be taken into a much more complex world around us. So that's what I think is the appropriate mission for universities in the sustainability arena, to be a societal test bed. And that's the concept of the campus as a living lab. Next slide, please. I want to start with our climate change goals as just one of a set of goals. We reached Kyoto at UBC in 2007. We had a 6% reduction compared to 1990, absolute reduction, even though floor space went up 30% over that period. That's an accomplishment actually few institutions in North America have achieved. Starting from that base, we're going to reduce emissions 33% by 2015. 2015, 4 years from now, tomorrow in a planning sense, actually yesterday in a planning sense. 67% by 2020, 100% by 2050. I've looked at the climate plans of the top 40 universities in the world according to one of those indices. Not very meaningful, but nevertheless, there isn't another university that has as strong climate targets as that we can find. So these are very ambitious targets. We're going to spend about $150 million between now and 2015 just to get to the 2015 target, 33% reduction. To get to the 67% reduction, that's a whole other story. That's big investment, but it's also a big change in the way we operate. Every one of those $150 million worth of projects, next slide please, and these are these 4 signature projects are the $150 million. All of them have a business case. They all make sense in economic terms if we take a life cycle approach to thinking about sustainability. So we have a roadmap. This was what's going to get us to 2015. To get, as I said, to get to 2020, we're going to have to think of treating the whole campus as a single integrated system in terms of energy, in terms of water, in terms of waste, and ultimately in terms of food. I don't have time to walk you through all of the different pieces. I just want to focus a little bit on one that's quite close to my heart. Next slide, please, which is the Center for Interactive Research on Sustainability. The idea here is we want to accelerate sustainability. We want to make a tangible difference to not just a building, but a program that will make a tangible difference to sustainability in the province over the next 10 years or so. The basic concept behind SIRS, next slide please, is that of regenerative design. The idea here is very simple. The old sustainability agenda is just being less bad. Let's reduce emissions, let's do less damage, be not as harmful as we normally are, and we'll feel good about it. That's not good enough. We think the new sustainability agenda is net positive. The new sustainability agenda says everything we build should improve the quality of the environment and the quality of human life. We should be net positive. So the basic idea is let's live within the flows on the site. Let's use the sun, let's use the wind, let's use the ground, let's use the rain. This will be a building that's 100% based on rainwater. No water supply from the city. All water will be treated on site, so the water leaving the building will be better quality than the water landing on our roof. That's net positive. This is a building, by adding a 60,000 square foot building to the campus, we're actually reducing UBC's energy use. We're reducing UBC's carbon emissions. The building makes a net positive contribution. And we're going to embed more, next slide please, we're going to embed more carbon in the structure of the building than all the carbon used in building the building by construction machinery and decommissioning at the end of its life. That makes us net positive in structural carbon. Surely to God, if there's ever anywhere in the planet we should be thinking about using rainwater, it's got to be Vancouver. Right? We consume 5 billion liters a year of water on campus. Rainfall is about 5 billion liters of water a year on campus. None of that 5 billion of rain is used in our systems. We've got to start thinking about using the flows around us. Surely to God, if there's anywhere in the planet, we should be using the only building material made by the sun, wood. It's got to be BC. Structural wood. Cities need to think of themselves as carbon sequestration engines. We need to sequester a lot of carbon. We're not going to do it all with mitigation and adaptation. We got to sequester a lot of carbon. And cities need to take that into account. The new technologies are going up and up. Used to be 4 stories was the highest you could build with wood. There's a 10-story building going up. The new technologies of cross-laminated timber, people are talking 30 stories. We just have to rethink the way we approach these systems. And then let's study it to death. A regenerative building will make people happier, healthier, and more productive. We're going to measure health, happiness, and productivity in the building with the goal of continuous improvement over time. That's the SIRS concept. Next slide, please. Actually, next one again. But it isn't just all about technology. It's also about people. How do we convert a commuter campus where a lot of people drove for many years to get there into a complete community? Well, we do it in part by tripling the number of people who live on campus and make 50% of that increase housing for faculty and staff and students. Since 2007, we have taken about 50% of the surface parking out of service, and we're building housing. Again, that's very expensive land. To use it for putting cars on is a very low value use of land. How did that happen? That happened partly through this increase in population by 2010, partly because we gave students a U-Pass, which allowed them to take transit at apparently no cost. Transit trips to campus went from 16,000 to 38,000 or so in about 5 or 6 years. In fact, it was so popular that they underpredicted the amount of take-up of it, and students all called it the Pass-U system for the first few years because all the buses were full. So that's a success story. We now have the buses, more buses at least. It's less of a Pass-U system than it used to be. On the educational front, we're going to create pathways so every single student at UBC, when they come to UBC, will be given the option of doing up to a minor in sustainability, no matter what program they're in. Civil engineering, French literature, it doesn't matter, you're going to be able to do a minor in sustainability. Then we start recruiting on the basis of offering that, which changes the student body, which further reinforces the process. Next slide, please. I want to end now with talking about the other cross-cutting theme, agent of change. We obviously can't do it all on the campus, and if every campus on the planet became sustainable, that doesn't get us very far. We've got to have this happen widely and quickly everywhere. So, agent of change, the concept here is partnerships. Let's create partnerships with private sector partners, public sector partners, NGO sector partners to learn from each other in implementing sustainability in our respective communities. Next slide, please. We've now got memorandums of understanding with the National Research Council on clean energy, with the City of Vancouver in 5 areas, I should say. We give them, this is a kind of an interesting deal, we give the city 10 grad students each summer for the summer to work with them on the Greenest City program. In return, they give us wood waste for our biomass plant. So you can think about the relative merits of that. The second area is integrated community scale energy systems. This is a huge deal for cities. We have to start thinking about the scale of neighborhoods. Don't sub-optimize it at buildings. Start thinking about neighborhoods. What is a sustainable neighborhood? It's somewhere you can live and work, somewhere that's easy to walk around in, where you have local shopping, and you have energy and water and waste systems that are integrated. So that's a second area. Community engagement. How do we get people engaged? We know the old models of the information deficit models that say, just provide people with information and the world will change, don't work. They're actually, not only that, they're sometimes counterproductive. They induce apathy and denial through all of this scaremongering that goes on in the name of environmental education. How do we create stories and processes of engagement that will make people feel part of the solution? Community engagement, mobility and waste. How do we start grappling with what green mobility really means? BC Hydro, we have just signed an MOU with in some of the same areas: community support, community energy systems, decision support, clean energy technologies, and so on. What we find is this massive